Welcome, friends, to today's meditation time. I would invite each of us just to settle in. Whatever that looks like and feels like for you, just settle. Maybe that means that you adjust your seat a little bit. Maybe that means that you stretch out a little more if you're lying down. Maybe you close your eyes. But whatever practices will allow you to settle, just do those. Almost like your ritual of arriving, allowing the body to get comfortable, allowing the breath to just really inform the entire experience of just that slow breath in, that full breath out, and that beautiful rhythm between the two. And just affirm yourself for the showing up, the arriving, the settling. And let's take just a few breaths together just to collectively settle. So just take a slow breath in as you expand through the belly, lift through the chest, and then gently exhale, let it go. And again, expanding from the belly, up into the chest. Exhale, release. And then one more together from the belly. Just fill yourself up. And then let it go. And then you find the natural rhythm that feels right for you. And so in these few weeks to come, including today, we're sitting with this idea of the challenges. We've talked about peace, we've talked about karma, all the things that are our tools, not just in our practice, but in our everyday living. But I think we'd be remiss if we didn't recognize that there are parts of life that are tough. There are challenges every single day. Some of them completely out of our control. Some of them that we contribute to in our own life. Some anticipated, some not. Every spiritual text that you go to, every belief system that you might study, there's going to be a reference to this idea of challenge and suffering. It's just part of this life experience. And so for today, I want to look at the challenge of this body that we each have. Even here, before we really get into many more minutes together, just notice how your body feels. Notice if there's a restless spot that's kind of asking you to move and to adjust, and then notice how you respond to that. Do you move? Do you adjust? Notice the position that you've created for yourself to be here for these minutes. Most likely a position that you know will work for your body so that you can persist and be. Because we all know that the body gets our attention when something is not right. And so for many of us, and maybe I could even say for all of us, it often presents challenges for us. We show up, we meditate, we show up on our yoga mat, we spend time breathing and sitting in nature, we do all the things to cultivate peace, and then our body seems to get in the way. That one achy hip, that tight muscle in your neck, that trouble spot that you've dealt with for years. Sometimes it seems like no matter how much we work to cultivate peace, the body begins to undo it, or so it seems, in a matter of just seconds. One ache, one reminder of pain. And so when it comes to these challenges in life, I want to start there and just really understand this idea of suffering within our physical being, this vessel that holds it all together. There's this quote by Tolstoy that says that If you feel pain, it means you're alive. If you feel others' pain, it means you're human. And while that second part, it sounds so wonderful to think that we could understand the pain of others. We could unite this humanity between us all. I think there's something to be said that he started with the first part of our own pain, because it's such a stumbling block for so many of us. If you feel pain, he says, it means you're alive. There is such a blessing to every feeling and sensation that we have in this body. Even the achy ones, even the loud ones that just grab at our attention. It's this beautiful reminder that we are alive. And so what I would invite us to do over these few minutes that we have is just to kind of sit and explore and understand the cause of these pains, of these trouble spots. There's a quote by B.K.S. Iyengar, this incredible teacher that brought yoga to the West and taught us so much about accessible practice, about healing. He says, within this practice, we begin to learn to cure what need not be endured. But, he says, we also learn through this practice how to endure that which cannot be cured. So just listen to that again. In this practice, we learn how to cure what need not be endured. And I want to stop at that first part and have each of us just think to ourselves, what are some things that we could do, some habits in our life that could make our body hurt less, that could make it feel like it's not working against us as much, that could make the pain and the inflammation and the aches, what could make them less? Because in that quote, what he's telling us is sometimes we are the source of our pain. Through our habits, through our lifestyle, through all these learned behaviors, these things that we've grown accustomed to. And it doesn't mean that these things are bad in and of themselves, but if they're causing us pain, they're causing us stiffness and aches, they're causing our spirit to be a little bit grouchy. Maybe it's time that we just understand, how do we shift and change our habits to lessen the pain, to lessen the challenge that the physical body gives? And so just think to yourself, what does it look like for you? We all know when there's that certain food that we eat, and no matter how good it tastes, the after effect is no fun. But then we eat it again. And then we suffer again. And so the story goes. For others, we go through our day until finally, when we think that the lists are all done and the work has been completed, we drop into our bed exhausted. We sleep restlessly and we wake up tired. And then our body begins to yell for our attention. So maybe for us, it's not about the food that you're eating, it's about the level and quality of your rest. And then there's others of us that spend a lot of time on a computer with our head just hanging out there, staring at that screen, getting heavier and heavier by the minute. And we rise up and our back hurts and our hips ache. And again, our spirit is grouchy. So how do we adjust? What do we change about those daily habits? So that again, our body doesn't feel like it's working against us. And I could go on and on with example after example. We all know what our things are. It's not a secret. But I want us just to pause for these next few breaths with that first part of Iyengar's quote when he says, this practice, this showing up, it begins to reveal for us how we can cure what need not be endured. So just sit and be open with these next few breaths and just see what comes up for you. How could you begin to cure the challenges of your body? And as you continue to breathe and just cultivate this awareness, I want to take us into the second part of his quote. When he says, this practice also helps us to have the tools and the resources and the awareness to endure the things that cannot be cured. Yes, there are habits that we can shift. There are practices that we can change. But there are also things about this physical vessel that we're going to have to figure out how to endure. We're going to have to figure out how to love ourselves through some of the achy things that we just don't have an answer for. And that's going to look different for each of us. We've all been on the planet different amounts of time. We all have different patterns and injuries and genetics and heredity and all the things that contribute to this vessel that we walk around with every day. And so how can this practice help us learn how to endure the things that are ours to endure? And even as I say the words, I feel it in my heart, and I'm sure you feel it in yours. This twinge of sadness that there's just some things we won't be able to fix. So how do we go through life with peace in our heart, with lightness in our spirit, even though there's a little bit of pain somewhere in there? We weren't promised a life without suffering. And for some of us, these things, we've had them for a long time. And for some of you, maybe there's not something just yet. But there's a chance along life's journey, you will encounter that kind of challenge. And so how, again, can this practice, this showing up, this sitting with full, beautiful awareness, help us to endure the things that are ours to endure? And rather than seeing this body, this vessel, this mix of tissues and bones and muscles, rather than seeing it as a challenge, see it as the blessing of us being alive. So as we sit in stillness, I would invite each of us just to breathe deeply and slowly, with compassion, with patience, with loving kindness toward ourselves. And just kind of scan. Just kind of check in. And when you notice a spot that is that place that you know, it just doesn't work the way that you want it to work. It doesn't feel the way that you wished that it felt. Can you love that spot as much as all the others? Can you accept it? Can you endure it in a way that does not rob you from your peace and your patience and your joy? So just continue to breathe slow, deep breaths in and out. Almost like you're taking this little flashlight and just scanning up and down and around. And notice. Pause. And see if you can cultivate first loving awareness and then loving acceptance. And as we continue to breathe, we continue to be aware. We continue to just be here in this moment. I want to offer us an affirmation just with a few breaths together that might offer us an anchor, an encouragement, a reminder that while, yes, there are challenges in this physical being of who we are, we can still live a life that is grounded in peace and joy and ease. And so as we breathe in, I'll say the words, I am loving awareness, just that expansion of the breath of me being aware of the whole part of me. And then as we breathe out, I am loving acceptance. I accept this body that I have. I know there are habits I need to work on, but I also know that there are parts that I just need to accept with loving awareness, loving acceptance. And see how that can begin to just really inform how I show up every day. So we'll just close out our practice with just a few breaths, and I'll just say the words and just kind of hold space for all of us. But just notice as I say them how it makes you feel. This is one thing that I think unites all of us. We all have parts of us physically that we just want to change, that we just want to fix, that we just want to ignore. It doesn't matter how you look and who you are, where you're from. There's always this level of discontentment when it comes to our bodies. So let's just practice a little bit of loving affirmations for these last few breaths. Breathing in. I am loving awareness. Breathing out. I am loving acceptance. Breathing in. I am loving awareness. Breathing out. I am loving acceptance. Breathing in, loving awareness. Breathing out, loving acceptance. In, loving awareness. Out, loving acceptance. And as we close our practice and we prepare to close out our day and begin a new day tomorrow, and whatever that looks like for you, I want to challenge us to notice the body. Notice how it feels when you first rise in the morning, and when you have those twinges of just whatever they are for you, the spots that you've noticed before. See if you can breathe in a little loving awareness there. Breathe out a little loving acceptance. And then really begin to just study yourself. We call that svadhyaya in Sanskrit, but just begin to study yourself and see, is the culprit here something that I can begin to cure through a change in a habit, in a practice? Or is this one of those things that I need to keep cultivating the loving awareness for so I can endure it? Stay aware in the coming days and see what you discover about yourself. Breathing in, loving awareness. Breathing out, loving acceptance. Namaste.